What's up, guys? We got a Trailblazer in the air here. We got a common fuel leak here in parts of the world with lots of rust problems. We got a repair kit here. Bada boom. I'll show you that. This is where it was leaking. This plastic connector to metal. See if we can find the other one so I can show you what it looks like. Can't really find it. But anyways, your metal goes into this plastic connector. I've already extracted the metal, and unfortunately the plastic seal and everything came out with it. So we're gonna replace this whole thing. The way you extract those, I like to use like a square easy out. Kind of like so. But it destroyed everything coming out. So I got a repair kit here. This is the elbow that we're gonna put on there, and you can see it's got O-rings and seals inside of it. I've already popped my fuel repair kit in there. This is what an extra one I have laying around it looks like. See, it's got like a little flare on the end. You can chop these in half and use them. I've already chopped the other end off of this one. And so what we'll be needing is a little hose clamp that just went flying when I picked that up. I'll find that and show it to you later. So we're gonna cut the plastic off of that old one up there and put this guy on there with the clamp. And then we're gonna use compression fittings on this end, boom, to attach it to this 3/8 line. And we're gonna run that line ourselves and just replace the whole fuel line going all the way up to the engine. All right, time to take our little fitting off here. We're gonna take a razor blade and cut right about there and get this taken off so we can start putting the new one on. All right. We got our new fuel line clipperoo on there. This is the clamp right there. So to tighten these style clamps that come with the kit, you're gonna need some pliers like this. They squeeze on to this guy, that little flat part. See if the camera will focus. And basically you just close the pliers on it. I can't really do it with one hand. And that tightens the clamp. You squeeze them. All right, let's do that. And it wasn't easy to get this plastic over the nipple. It's tight. Sometimes you gotta use a little heat to make the plastic more malleable. This one I didn't use any heat on. I got it on there. Had to use quite a bit of force. Here's what we're looking at on the engine. That was the pressure line that was leaking. So the line connects right here. And here is the old line that I took out. Right there, there's a quick connect. You can see there's 4 little prongs there. You'll need a disconnect tool to take that off. And the line runs behind this here box. And that's 4 10mm bolts. I just got it out of the way. And there's our old line right there. I just cut it off flush where the metal's looking pretty clean. So that's what we're gonna connect to, because we need this fitting to go onto the fuel rail there. I'll show you the little tool to disconnect that. Let's see, where'd I put it? They look kind of like this. But this one that I used, where did I put that? Anyways, we'll find it. The one I was using was like scissors. Basically, you take the 3/8 one, this one's a 1/2 inch. This is 1/2 inch on it. You put it around the line, and that goes inside there to push all those tabs, expand them, and then that line just pulls right off. Pretty easy. Here's the old clip from the fuel pump module down there after I cut it with the razor blade. To get these off, you got a little black clip here. You can use a fuel line disconnect, just like one of them. to help press the clip out, or you could just use a flathead screwdriver and work it out. And then the line's supposed to pull out of there, but this one was all rotted. Literally broke with 2 fingers. The rust, it was so rusted where it was leaking. I grabbed it with 2 fingers, just put my fingers around it, and it started just falling off. That's how bad it was. No need to depressurize the fuel rail because there was no fuel in there. The leak was so bad. All right, so we want to start by feeding our spool of line down. I want to get it connected to where it connects by the fuel tank first. So I'm going to start unraveling this spool. Be careful you don't kink it when you unravel it. I'm pretty good at bending fuel line, and I'm going to start feeding it right along where the old fuel line was. Here we are. We got a good length going here. Not quite straight, but straight enough for now. And I'm starting to feed it down there. And we can worry about tying it into the clips later. Right now we want to get it tied to the repair line that we got connected to the fuel pump module clip. So that's how I'm feeding it. Just start from the top. Now we're gonna raise it up in the air. I mean, you probably don't have a hoist, so you gotta jack it up, get underneath of it and do this. So I'm gonna lift it up, start feeding it along the path of the old fuel line. We're gonna start by putting the compression fitting on the tail end here. I've got my new line ran, not exactly where I want to yet, but I got it back here where they can touch. And I'm thinking about running it along the path of the brake lines instead of over the transmission and transfer case. It just makes my life easier. But definitely got to keep it out of the way of the drive shaft there, whatever you do. You know, route it safely. All right, so we're gonna put the end cap on and then the ferrule. And then we've got our union. Keep pressure on the union towards the line as you tighten up this compression fitting. I can't do it with one hand while I'm filming, but that was a 5/8 and that's a 9/16. So I'm gonna put both my wrenches on there and tighten that down. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with our replacement line onto this union. Get these lines tied together. And we're still loose at the front, so we can still run this line wherever we want to go, even though these two will be attached. But after I get it tight here, it just gives me more access having it down below the transfer case. I'm gonna flip it up here, the line, and connect it with that replacement line. So I think I'll just run everything over by the side of the frame. All right, we got it connected down at the bottom and ran pretty much where we want to go. A little slack. We're up top again. And this is the one thing you don't really want to screw up. You don't want to cut your line too short. See our line sticking out here. Got it ran where we want it. So what we can do is clip this back on here on that fuel rail and kind of estimate where we're gonna go. That line ran just like that. See, this little clip goes in that hole. So that's right there. That's a good approximation of where we want to be. Remember, we're going to get a little bit extra because that compression fitting is hollow for a little bit. So now we want to estimate where we want to cut this line off to attach to this line. And I'm also going to wire brush the end of that line, the old line, just so that that compression fitting is nice and sealed. Just give it a little cleaning, no grooves or anything, be careful. All right, so I'm gonna press this line down because I want it to go down a little bit. You can see we're around those hoses a little bit. I wanna route it so that it doesn't touch the steering column here on the right. It's about the middle of the screen. So we're gonna mark a spot where we want to cut it, the line, and we're gonna use a little cutting wheel I got a couple different ones. Here's a little guy for tight spaces. Got a big one. You just tighten the line in there. It's got these rollers and you keep spinning and tightening to get a nice flush cut. Let's get this line cut. All right, here we go. Attach the compression fitting to this hose first. It's just easier to get that side on first while it's out of the vehicle. Then I cut my line. I pulled it up, took some of the slack out so that I could actually get a nice wrench swivel on this. If you don't have a teammate here, a partner to hold that, hold two wrenches, it can be pretty unstable. So what I've done is just put vice grips on that middle union, the hex side of the union, and set the vice grips up here so that I can have a nice steady hold on it while I tighten the bottom nut onto the union. And remember, you want to have your fuel line nice and tight, pressed into, bottomed out on the union. When you start turning that nut, they could start coming up and down. But yeah, so don't over torque these unions. They're just brass, they can snap. So just get them nice and tight. Because it's a 3/8 line, it's pretty tough, so you do have to tighten quite a bit to get it to seal. After we put everything together, we're gonna start up the vehicle and make sure there's no fuel leaks out of these too. So if there is some fuel leaks, you might not have got it tight enough if it's dripping fuel out. So tighten it some more. All right, so we got that connected. We can take the vice grips off. All right, so we took those vice grips off. The fitting's right down there. Connected it, you'll hear it clip, snap on tight. We put our hold down back in the hole, snapped in there. Now we're gonna tighten our computer back up here. Slides on these pegs, bada boom, just like so. So we'll have to tighten those up. So yeah, we're gonna make sure everything's snapped into place, held down so that fuel line can't move. Make sure it's not in the way of any moving parts or anything. And start it up, check for leaks on our compression fitting. If that looks good, then the job's done, no more fuel leaks.